So good morning. A balmy 10 degrees out last night, and got my diesel heaters running. They did start a little bit hard. One started this morning and one didn't, and it was the fuel pump. And that's been the problems with gelling that I've had so far. I haven't made it down to a 0 yet, so we still have January and February to come, so who knows. But yeah, I'm just going to give a quick update today. I've had so much feedback that it's really hard to keep track of all the comments and all the suggestions that I've had. So I'm just going to try to summarize a few things here that that I've discovered and that I found helpful. So yeah, so under 10 degrees for me, it's the pump that's not starting. So I'm sure it is dealing with a thick fuel or a gelling fuel, but the actual pump doesn't start. And I just give it a little heat. I was able to put my hands around this pump to get it started the other day when it was 8 degrees out, and that was just enough heat for my body to get it going. So it's the pump that's the problem. It hasn't been the fuel yet. Again, I think if I was down at 0, I would have a problem. So the fuel itself isn't necessarily gelling as much as the pump won't start. So that's a huge thing right there. Yeah, I also, in the gelling conversations, right, people did suggest putting an anti-gel. I just haven't figured out what that anti-gel was. So if anybody wants to suggest a particular anti-gel that's pretty cheap, that would be really good. I'm just a little bit thrifty, so I saw some stuff on Amazon for like $80, and I don't know how many gallons. Probably treats 1 million gallons. I don't know, but I haven't tried that out yet. That'll probably be my next step here. Let's go over to this other heater here. Hasn't been opened in a little while, as you can see from the ice. Another thing I did was, I remember I showed you those adapters I had made. That's because of the other box design. I actually took them off, a different video, but I took them off to just to simplify the whole thing. You don't actually need those for this type of design where you have full access to the end because it clamps right on. So that's kind of nice. Okay, I want to just inject here that be sure to check out the show notes because I usually add various things that I'm using, either parts or tools that I'm using, into those show notes. So if you see something and you're interested in it, take a look there. You might be able to find it in the notes. Links provided below. And as a plug to me personally, if you could subscribe to my channel, that would be probably the biggest thing you could do to help me, and I would really, really appreciate it. Let me see, another big lesson learned here is that that's kind of where my fuel level was when I checked it last night. I just shined a really bright flashlight on the side and you can see it. But I try not to let it run below about 1 inch because of my standpipe that's coming in and coming all the way and sucking fuel from the bottom. If you run it dry, my length of lines are so long that I have to give it a couple priming cycles just to get the fuel back. So I try not to do that. See if I can keep from introducing a whole lot of moisture in here. I definitely prefer this cap over this cap. This cap is really hard to put on and off, and that's the more expensive one. And the cheap one, where you reuse the cap, at least from the Midway cans, works pretty good. And the other thing I wanted to mention is when you make your standpipe, it's going to come too long and you're going to have to cut it. And I just ground that off. I'll show you my grinder here in a second, what I ground it with. There we go. It's actually a little loose. Glad I found it. Oh man, that's cold. Okay, so yeah. So I cut my standpipe with a cutter, with this grinder, just to cleanly kind of cut it off. And then I just took a little knife in to deburr it. And then after all that ugly work was done, if I had a pipe cutter, I would have done something different. And then the other one is I just took a compressor and I went from the very top of the standpipe and blew out any metal filings, so I wouldn't have metal filings in the standpipe. Let me see, we've covered below 10 degrees starts. I've had 3 days where I've had starting problems. So everybody in the comments talking about it, you are 100% correct. But it is actually the fuel pump that won't start. And it's either the fuel is just thick enough that the fuel pump can't get the piston moving, but once that piston's moving, it seems to run great. And then let's talk a little bit about carbon dioxide. So that is one area where I don't have everything worked out. So I have fresh air that comes down into the heater. It comes across the heater, so it's on the outside of the combustion chamber, but there's all sorts of metal in there, and then it blows out hot air in there. If there were to be a crack, inside the metal casing of this unit, this combustion loop, right? Combustion in, exhaust out, that could potentially leak carbon monoxide. So that's definitely a big concern of mine. And then of course fire, which is why I did all of this. So on the carbon monoxide front, I do have a carbon monoxide meter here, and I have a second one here. As the saying goes, 1 is none, 2 is 1. So yeah, so I would just say on diesel heaters, make sure you follow manufacturer directions, do what they say, and take appropriate safety precautions. And I got that nice warm heat coming out. Oh, so nice after standing out there for a few minutes. And I had a bazillion comments telling me to run these indoors. And yes, 150%. They will run more efficiently inside, but I just like my spaghetti monster there of stuff. They will absolutely run more efficiently inside, but for me, it's really just kind of like getting that fuel sort of evolved into this. I am definitely losing BTUs, but I feel better, is the best way to put it. I never sleep with it on, but I do feel better with it like that. Let me go to this heater here. When you're looking down here, this is another big part of confusion. This is the exhaust coming out. So this is my exhaust stream, and this is the air intake. So, and they connect up in there. So air intake for combustion is here. Exhaust is here. We'll hit the side here. We're looking at it this way here. So air intake is there, which is connected to that hose, and it's underneath so it doesn't accumulate water and suck water into the thing. And then this is the exhaust. This is the exhaust here, and it runs out. And I do have a little bit of a bend, as I mentioned before, so if the fuel starts to drip, it'll drip down onto this wood and not hit a 400-degree exhaust pipe. Wow. Imagine that. It's warmed up to rain and everything and makes slush. All right, so yeah, how I've mounted these exhausts, I just wanted to add this little piece here, was that I found these brackets over at Home Depot. So it's 5 inches by about 8 inches for this bracket here. And it's metal, it's a shelf bracket, and they're literally like $2 or $3 a piece. So I just sort of put a couple screws on there, hung it from some wire, and that just keeps the, well, this is just put in here lightly, but it keeps the rest of the assembly from moving around, and it can tolerate the heat. So that's what I'm doing for the exhaust holder on my diesel heater. All right, well, that's it for today. So thanks for watching. And if you found any of my content useful, please subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Subscribers are how I'm growing my channel. And without you, I don't have nothing, and I'm just talking to myself. So please subscribe. And thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.